going to demonstrate the use of the ZOLL AED Plus. This is assuming that someone has already recognized this person is down, checked for responsiveness, sent somebody to call 911 and get the AED, check for breathing. At no breathing, begin CPR compressions. We arrive at the site of the patient with the AED, and we want to use that AED as soon as we arrive at the site of the patient. However, we want to ensure that compressions continue until we have the pads out ready to go in order to minimize that time gap between the last compression and the shock. If we're in a lone rescue situation where it's just us, then we want to use the AED as soon as we recognize the patient is down with an adult. So we're always going to start by pressing the on button and listening to the prompts, and then we know with the ZOLL AED Plus that once we do that, we want to lift the lid, so we're going to go ahead and do that too as the next step. We already have the training scenario plugged in just for purposes of demonstration, so we'll talk about that during the demonstration as well. So first it goes through a self-test. When you turn it on, it only takes a couple seconds.
Unit okay. Stay calm. Check responsiveness. Call for help. Attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
So I'll lift the lid, exposing the pads which would normally be plugged in. In this case, we have the trainer plugged in. Once I take the pads out, you'll see they have the first responder kit right here, so I can
attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
Cut the clothing off with the heavy-duty trauma shears in here. I'm going to rip this open. When I open it, it's going to look like this. And so what I'm going to do is unfold this.
Attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
And use this marker as kind of the bullseye in the center of the chest at that mid-nipple line. And then I'll peel off these here and here to expose
attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
The adhesive backing on the back of the pads, and I'm really going to press firmly. If this is a larger patient, these are pre-scored, so I can rip this off and slide it back over so it's more in that left flank position where it needs to be.
Attach defib pads to patient's bare chest.
Once the pads are on, the AED is going to
Don't
sense that.
touch patient. Analyzing.
I'm going to begin analyzing. I'm going to stand clear, make sure everybody's standing clear, and just let
Don't
the AED
touch
analyze.
Patient. Analyzing. Shock advised. Don't touch patient. Press flashing shock button.
Everybody stand clear. Shocking.
Shock delivered. Start CPR.
So I'll start CPR in the middle of the chest. Great thing about the ZOLL AED is it has real feedback CPR. So if I start to not go deep enough, which is a common mistake, it's going to tell me.
Push harder.
And it's going to keep me right in that sweet spot of 2 to 2.4 inches
Good
depth.
compressions.
And it even gives me that positive feedback there. And if I start going too slow or too fast, the metronome will match my beat and then speed back up to get me back to the right rate. Same goes in reverse if I end up going too fast. So we want to listen to that metronome and then also pay attention to any of the voice prompts if I start to not go deep enough. And then once I'm back in the right zone.
Good compressions.
And in addition to that, it's hard to see on the screen, but you can see a little, on that left side of the screen, indicator showing me if I'm getting into that proper depth. But with the voice prompts, you almost don't need to look at it in the case of the Real Rescue. And I want to go at that 100 to 120 compressions per minute rate. And once I get to 2 minutes of compressions, whether I'm doing compression only CPR or compression and ventilation, in which case I'll go 30 compressions to 2 ventilations. In either case, I'm going to go for a good 2 minutes.
Continue CPR.
And once I get to that 2-minute mark, the AED is going to reanalyze, at which point it's my opportunity to also reanalyze the patient and see if there's any signs of breathing, any signs of spontaneous movement. The AED is going to tell me whether or not a second shock is indicated, and if so, it will at that point give the indication to press the shock button again, or if not, it will tell us to check the patient and then continue CPR. So once we put the pads onto the patient, it's important to recognize there's never a need to take those pads off, and we just want to continue to follow the prompts of the AED all the way through until help arrives.